Am I concerned right now when it comes to Myria? Well, the answer is no. But then sometimes the reaction is, but why? Now, even though nothing I say is financial advice, here's why. It's because I get it. Myria has had such a massive pullback, but that could be said with a bunch of other altcoins, but even besides that as well. Myria at this point, right, is so low, again, to the point that just reaching 1 cent, not 2 cents, not 3 cents, not 5 cents, just 1 cent is around a 22x from here. And I just want to kind of highlight this real quick because Myria, right, at one point was considered one of the premier players out there when it comes to, let's say, arguably in that space of blockchain gaming, and also kind of even to a certain extent in that Ethereum layer 2 space, is now having a market cap of around 50 million, which I find pretty fascinating actually. And even though I'm not telling you to do anything, my perspective is this. Even though I'm a fan of Solana, let's say, is Solana going to be doing over 20x in the next 5 months? I just don't have that idea. I don't have that mindset. I'm not thinking about that. That's just my, again, perspective. Is BNB going to do over 20x in the next 5 months? You know what I mean? Their market caps are very massive. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Myria is ever going to be more popular than them. I'm not saying that. But just because the market cap is literally below $20 million currently, it is just not something that I would find maybe too ridiculous for it to maybe do something like that, because 1 cent, again, around 22x from here, keep in mind, market cap at that point, considering current circulating supply, would be around 356 million. I'm not even saying 400 million, not even saying half a billion, not even a billion. At 22x from here, market cap would be around 356 million. I find that pretty, again, just fascinating considering how not too long ago, Myria was actually considered a pretty premier project. But then again, just because the altcoin space isn't doing the best, now it's not really considered that. Some of my friends out there think it's some sort of kind of meme coin level type of thing, but I don't really think that way because I still haven't forgotten about those days when Myria was considered pretty premier as a project. And I think fundamentally nothing bad happened to it, so I don't know why I would give up on it, but this is just my mindset. I mean, even if I take a look at Myria, for instance, right, let's just say not too long ago, like literally back in December of 2024, so we're not even talking a year ago, that's less than a year ago. At that point, market cap was above 100 million. You know what I mean? This is just pretty fascinating. So, if let's say Myria just went to the market cap that it did back in December, it's already over 6x from here. You know what I mean? So this is just my perspective. However, at the same time as well, I'm not saying that will happen because historical performance doesn't guarantee future performance, but I think even at a time where back in December of last year in 2024, it didn't even feel like an altcoin season to me. And at that point, the market cap was already over 100 million. So if let's say there was an actual altcoin season, that market cap again may be around 356 million at the price of 1 cent. It's nothing that seems too ridiculous to me because even let's say just back in March of 2024. So again, it's over a year ago at this point, but market cap was slightly above 200 million at that point. So yeah, when it comes to Myria, the way I view it is that, yeah, sure, it may not be the biggest project out there, it may not be the most popular, but a market cap of around, let's say, 356 million, it's nothing, I think, too ridiculous in the grand scheme of things. If it's like, 80 billion, 100 billion, then that's a different case. This is like not a groundbreaking figure. It's not going to break any records, right? That figure. But yeah, that's besides the point though. Why do I still like the fundamentals of Myria? Because I think the core focus is still there. Like for instance, if we take a look at Myria, it's a gaming ecosystem powered by Myria's Ethereum Layer 2 scaling solution. Now, why do I find this fascinating? It's because, yeah, sure, there's many Ethereum Layer 2s out there. Like for instance, we take a look at Optimism, we take a look at Arbitrum. I mean, there's a bunch. But then when it comes to a Layer 2 that is specifically kind of having this focus more so towards blockchain gaming, it's not necessarily that common, right? Like when I usually think about a Layer 2, I don't think one about that's focused on blockchain gaming. But when I take a look at Myria, having those aspects, I find that pretty interesting. And I think having a Layer 2 have a core focus, I think that is such a smart move because again, there's many Layer 2s out there. So in order to differentiate, I think there needs to be a core focus. So I do like that blockchain gaming aspect. And I think here's the thing as well. When it comes to blockchain gaming, it's not doing the best as of right now. And then we combine that with how there's a lot of Ethereum layer 2s out there that kind of created this perfect storm where it just made Myria, I think, go down a lot harder. Because in a sense where other projects out there that maybe just this kind of run-of-the-mill Ethereum layer 2, what happens is that it doesn't, I think in some cases, dip as hard because it's not associated with another market. Like for instance, Myria is kind of having this Ethereum layer 2 aspect, and then it's combined with blockchain gaming, which already the sentiment isn't the best as of right now. Again, just made it go down a lot harder in my perspective, which could be viewed as in two ways. In the first sense, of course, it's not good to see things go down in my perspective, right? But then at the same time, having that kind of idea where my intention is the dollar cost average and now 1 cent is around at 22x from here, I don't know why I would necessarily complain about that too much, because if let's say I like this t-shirt and I liked it at the price of $10, let's say, and for whatever reason there was an 80% discount and it went to the price of $2, would I be disappointed? Or would I say, oh wow, I can't believe the thing that I liked is down 80%? Now again, it could be two ways, because the first perception is that, oh, if there's this 80% discount, that means the quality isn't good. But then if let's say the quality didn't change, the fundamentals of the t-shirt stayed the same, and let's say there was that price discount, I would think actually, oh wow, again, there's that 80% discount. But then sometimes there's this perceived notion that if a project has a big price pullback, that means the fundamentals became worse. Now, that could happen in some cases. I'm not saying it can't, right? It could, and I've seen it before. Like, for instance, of course, we take a look at like Luna Classic. However, of course, that situation is more of an extreme example, but I'm just saying. But when I take a look at something like Myria, I just don't know what bad thing happened to it in terms of its fundamentals. It's just my perspective. And sure, when people like to say, okay, Myria really hasn't been doing much. Well, when it comes to the blockchain gaming space, it's not like a lot of projects out there have the best adoption of all time. Like a lot of projects out there that I see when it comes to blockchain gaming, the adoption isn't necessarily the best. But still, even besides that, why do I think being a layer 2 is pretty interesting? It's because a layer 2 in this case, it kind of basically allows Ethereum to be enjoyed, while at the same time not really having to deal with kind of those famous drawbacks when it comes to Ethereum. Now, what is that, right? It's like, for instance, the sky-high gas fees and arguable scalability issues. But then nonetheless, Ethereum is a very popular layer 1 blockchain. So layer 2 again kind of steps in and says, you know what? Ethereum can be enjoyed maybe, and then it doesn't necessarily have to deal with some of those issues. I think a layer 2 is crucial, but then because Ethereum is so massive, there is a lot of Ethereum layer 2s out there. And again, Myria can kind of sometimes be forgotten somewhere along there because it kind of has that aspect of blockchain gaming. But I think really, if there's, let's say, maybe an altcoin season during the cycle, I think those aspects that made Myria have such a big price pullback, like again, being this layer 2 that's having an aspect somewhat of also blockchain gaming, again, those aspects that made it kind of not that appealing during a moment when the market is not doing good, I think that right there could equally also be somewhat maybe a positive in the opposite direction, where let's say blockchain gaming does pick up and Ethereum layer 2 is kind of have this massive narrative again, especially during altcoin season. I think maybe that could work towards the benefit of something like Myria. So again, what made it, I think, not do good, I think hypothetically could also make it pretty kind of popular during a time when there's an altcoin season maybe. But I don't think I've seen an altcoin season, and I'm not telling them to do anything, by the way. This is just my mindset. But sometimes you like to say, okay, when is there going to be an altcoin season? Well, that's beyond my control. Like, I can't demand that to happen. The only thing I can do is just stay patient, hold, and I just wait. And pretty much that's about it. And now, I get it. Sometimes you like to say, oh, that sounds a little bit boring. Why would you just do that? Well, again, literally, what can I do other than that? Now, some people like to say, okay, why don't you pull up a price chart and try to figure out the best moment? Well, here's the thing. Let's say I drew a falling wedge pattern or I drew a random triangle on a price chart. Do you think the market's going to care about that? I highly doubt it. It's not going to care at all, actually, in my opinion. So instead of trying to control things that are completely out of my control, I'm just going to control myself and just stay patient, dollar cost average, hold, and just wait. And that's pretty much about it. And just kind of wait for a moment in time in which the market does something. And again, it doesn't mean it will, but my perspective is that I'm just gonna stay patient, hold, and see what happens. But that's ultimately the only thing I can do. And again, I still like the fundamentals of Myria, so I just don't want to give up like that. However, only time will tell, and I'm staying patient. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I want to say thank you for watching. I hope you all have a nice day. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch you all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.